everybody, welcome into a Flyers game preview. I'm Kevin Durso. Tonight, the Flyers take things outdoors and face the Boston Bruins at Lake Tahoe at 7:30 p.m. Couple of time changes to this one. Originally a scheduled 3 p.m. Eastern Time start, moved to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and then moved to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday due to some ice conditions and weather conditions involving the sun that were creating some problems with the ice. It was well documented during the game that happened on Saturday at Lake Tahoe between Colorado and Vegas. So that is the reason for the time change. Before we get started, just want to remind you the video is brought to you as part of Flyers coverage on sportstalkphilly.com and the YWT podcast. Get all of your Flyers coverage at sportstalkphilly.com. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin_Durso and find more coverage from me over at 97.3ESPN.com. Be sure to listen and subscribe to the YWT podcast as well. Due to the time change, we rearranged some things. Our new episode is coming out at our usual time on Sunday night. We were going to do a post-game live type episode following the Lake Tahoe game when it was during the afternoon, but unfortunately, due to all the time changes, we just decided to record ahead of time, so it'll be a normal release, and we won't have any information or discussion about the Lake Tahoe game in its completion, but we will talk about everything leading up to it and things like that. So let's get into the actual heart of this game here for a moment. And first of all, the Flyers are coming off of a loss on Thursday night to the New York Rangers in a shootout that really wasn't that bad, all things considered. When you look at their lineup, when you look at the circumstances they're dealing with, they certainly had a lot of issues and a lot of guys out of the lineup. So for them to come off of a 10-day pause from gameplay, for them to come into a game where they're playing against a team that under normal circumstances, they probably would be able to win that game. But unfortunately, in dealing with the circumstances they do get to pick up a point here in the standings, and that's huge just to keep pace with some of the other teams for now, as it sets the stage for this game. It does not mean they're home free by any stretch. They are still missing those same 6 players. So Claude Giroux, Jake Voracek, Oscar Lindblom, Travis Konechny, Scott Lawton, Justin Braun. These are all guys who are out of the lineup right now. And it's unfortunate because you'd like to see the full lineup go against the Boston Bruins. This was going to be the first opportunity for the Flyers to play the Bruins with Sean Couturier in the lineup. He's still in the game, obviously, but this was going to be an opportunity to see the Flyers at complete full strength and see what they had against the Boston Bruins as a team and see if they could find a way to finish off a game, because they've been in position to win some games without Sean Couturier, without Phil Myers, guys like that. And now they're going to have to play a game without half of their forward core, which is certainly an uphill battle. Despite that, look for something. I look for this to be an interesting type of game because these outdoor games are usually a feeling out process early on. So I don't think you're going to see this be some lopsided game from the beginning. I think you're going to see a settling in period, and then whichever team starts to figure it out the fastest with the conditions in playing in an outdoor game, that's what remains to be seen. And that's what remains to be kind of the question when it comes to who survives this game and comes out on top in this game. I think that the benefit of playing the Bruins in a situation like this where you're outdoors, where you have to adjust to the ice, both teams aren't even touching the ice until warmups, and that'll be the first time they get to experience this ice surface. So I expect there to be a big adjustment period. So I think the first period could be very boring, could be very simple, making a lot of simple plays, trying to do the best to make things happen, but getting a feel for the ice as well. It comes down to the periods that have really hurt the Flyers against the Bruins, the second and the third, getting down the stretch and seeing what you have. And not only seeing what you have, but like seeing what you can accomplish as the game goes on, as the ice either gets better or worse for you, depending on how you adjust. It could just be getting worse in general with the conditions. You're going to have to make an adjustment, and that might actually give the Flyers a shot in this game, even with the shorthanded lineup, with the way that Boston has played them all season. It might give them a shot because there is an adjustment process to playing outdoors, and you have to find it quickly. And maybe a team that like the Flyers, even without the best players in the lineup, can find that faster. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting game. I don't hold a lot of high expectations for it given the lineup, but we will see. Let's get into some of the other important parts of this game. We'll start with the goaltending matchup. And no surprises here for either side. Carter Hart gets a start for the Flyers, and he had a pretty solid game on Thursday, all things considered as well. He faced a lot of high-quality shots. You think about the chances that Artemi Panarin got on the power play. They had a lot of extensive power play time. And then I think about the penalty shot as well, the breakaway for Pavel Buchnevich, and then the penalty shot that came right after. And Hart was up to the task on both. Unfortunately, when it comes to the shootout, you're going against some of the top guys and some guys who are really, really, really determined and really skilled in this area. And sometimes you can do your best to make the right decision, and you might just get beat by a great shot, and that's what happened in Carter Hart's case. He's faced the Bruins a number of times. He knows what to expect in this, too. He might be the key for the Flyers to remain competitive in the game, too. If they get hit with a lot of shots from from early on here. He might need to be solid from the beginning just to get this team to where they need to be to finish off the game and be in contention to come away with maybe 1 point or possibly 2 if they really can put some things together. On the other side, the Flyers are going to have an uphill task going against Tuukka Rask. Rask is good against the Flyers anyway when they have a full lineup. Now they don't. Maybe that's a good thing because maybe there's guys out there who aren't going to think too hard about what it's like to face Tuukka Rask and how he's had success against this team over the years. They might just think about it and not think at all and just go out there and try to play the game as smart and simple as possible. But Rask is so skilled. He's off to a great start this season, as you can see by the numbers. The 6-2-1 record, 2.51 goals against, 906 save percentage. He's doing everything he needs to do for Boston to be successful. And that's the challenge that the Flyers have. He's had a lot of success against the Flyers this season, obviously, as well. They've played 4 games. Boston's won all 4, but Rask has been in goal for 3 of them. So you got to expect that he's going to be on top of his game because typically against the Flyers, he is. So that's definitely always something that you got to keep an eye on and be ready for at every point here. Let's go to the players to watch. And in this game, I'm taking James Van Riemsdyk for the Flyers. I think that this is a guy who you look for the veteran presence. It's a guy who's played in the outdoor games before as well. And he's a guy who's on a hot streak. The goals aren't as high as typically when he's on a hot streak. He's setting up guys a lot more. He's being more of a playmaker this season. But I've been impressed with him, and I think that a guy like that who gets a lot of extended minutes, especially when the lineup is shorthanded like this, you've got Sean Couturier playing with Joel Farabee and JVR, and it's like, this is your top line for right now because you can't get the line that you really want to have out there. So that's what they have to do, and I think that Van Riemsdyk is a key part to that. On the other side, it's hard to ignore what David Pastrnak has done for this team over the years, but also against the Flyers, and I think about that game just a little while ago, just about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where the Flyers are hosting the Bruins. They're up 3-1 in the third period, and all of a sudden, a couple of power plays, and there's David Pastrnak to take over the game, complete a hat trick, and then in overtime set up Patrice Bergeron for the game winner. He's kind of cooled off a little bit from that really, really torrid start that he had, just going crazy with the goals and putting it all together very quickly. He's only had 1 in his last 5 games, but that doesn't mean he can't strike at any time. That's the thing. So keep an eye on him, as always. Keep an eye on him and his line mates, too, because realistically, every single time the Bruins play, I could pick any one of those 3, and certainly Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron are guys to watch as well in this game. So look out for all of them, and we'll see what happens. But Pastrnak, to me, is the guy who really drives that even more than Bergeron and Marchand because he's got the elite scoring touch. He's just all over the place when it comes to being around the net, has a lethal shot. He can do it all, and I think that that's why he's the guy who I think you have to keep the closest eye on, because even if Bergeron can beat you with the two-way ability and Bergeron can get you a lot of good defensive play that turns into offensive play, and Marchand's the hard-nosed guy who goes to the net, this is the guy who anywhere, he's in around the net scoring on rebounds. He takes a good shot from the circles. He can set up plays from the top of the blue line. So I'm fully expecting him to be the guy who drives this thing and could really dominate this game. So with that, that's going to do it for a Flyers game preview. Check back after the game in place of the live show that we were going to do after the game. Kyle Collington is going to do a post-game video for you. I'll be back with you for the next preview video, which will be ahead of the Wednesday game against the New York Rangers. Until then, you can catch up with the latest episode of the YWT podcast, which will be released later tonight and tomorrow. Tonight on all of the podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. Tomorrow morning on sportstalkphilly.com. Be sure to subscribe to the YWT podcast on YouTube as well. The video will be up later tonight as well from our podcast earlier today. And you'll also, by subscribing, be notified of all of our videos, new podcast episodes, previews, recaps, all of that. Be sure to follow along during tonight's game as well. I'll have coverage on Twitter at Kevin_Durso. Game updates are over at Flyer-Delphia on Twitter, and you can check out my game preview and post-game recap and 5 takeaways over at sportstalkphilly.com and 97.3 ESPN.com following the game. With that, enjoy the game as we go outdoors at Lake Tahoe. Flyers and Bruins. We'll see you next time on the next Flyers game preview.